Alrighty guys, today's May 10th, 2017, and today's webinar is going to be entitled, Are You Ready to Be a Trader? So, I have a bunch of things written down and I'm going to start reading off of some of these things because I did put some thoughts together and I did kind of jot them down on a paper. And so I'm going to read off some of the things that I see that you need to be, that you need to have to be a trader, to be mentally ready to be a trader, not physically ready, not just knowing about charts and flags and fib retracements, but are you seriously ready to be a trader? So that's where the webinar is supposed to be projected to. It's not really much of a formations or candlesticks or chart work type of a are you ready to be a trader. It's more of a mental in-depth are you ready to be a trader? Okay, so let's get into this. So how many times are you watching a game and watching a basketball game or something and you see a player miss a free throw and then you say to yourself, well, I could have hit that? And how many times have you been watching a football game and you saw a receiver miss a catch that was obviously wide in the open, and you jump up and you say, hey, I could have caught that? So too many times people attempt to live others' lives or walk in other people's footsteps without actually living their lives or walking in their footsteps. So many people actually just see the end result of someone's hard work and that desire without understanding how much dedication went into it. When a player holds a ring after winning a championship or a trophy after winning a game, he or she doesn't really see that trophy or that ring as a medal. I mean, as a it's just an item that they're holding, right? What that player actually sees inside of just that physical ring or trophy, what they see is the accomplishment, the hard work, the dedication, the sweat, the endless hours that was put into it. So that's what that player gets out of that, getting that achievement, right? And so as a trader, the results of hard work and dedication results in a consistent strategy. A winning and consistent strategy results into a growing account. So many new traders compare their fresh start to another's accomplished trader's life. So many new traders, and I've seen it many times before, where a trader would come up to me and they'd say, "Hey, I want to learn trading. I want to be as where you're at. I want to know what you know, and I want to be there next week." So the first question I asked them is basically, "How long have you been trading?" And a lot of the answers would be like 2, 3 months, 6 months, even a year. And I'll go into to a kind of a, hey, let's take a few 10 steps backward types of conversation here, and let's get into what really do you think that you should know or that you should be doing to get yourself to where where somebody that's a little bit more consistent or a little bit more accomplished. Like, how can you see yourself as just starting off to be where I'm at? Where I've dedicated 16-hour days and thousands of hours of studying. Like, how is it that you can compare your 6 months or 3 months or 1 year to that and try to accomplish that within a very, very limited amount of time? And so what I feel is that there are a lot of traders that actually just start into trading, and they come into it with the excitement and the anxiety of, hey, let's just get into this, right? Everybody that I've seen on Twitter, every website that I've seen, the people are showcasing their cars and their mansions and their yachts and heaps of money. And obviously this is something that just, it's easy, like we can all do it. And so even though somebody's showcasing those things, and they could be all real, all right, not every trader that you see out there that is showcasing a nice car or a nice house doesn't mean that it's fake. doesn't mean that it's pulled a picture pulled off of Google or something. I mean, like, it can be real, it can be theirs, it can be their, very hard work put into physical things that they bought, right? But how do you, as a newer trader, come into trading and expect to achieve that? Like, you want to go from your, wherever you're at, straight to that. And so that's the illusion of trading. I think that's the huge gap between one um one one mountain to the other mountain, and you're only visually looking at the two peaks, right? If you're standing on one peak of a mountain and the other person standing on the other peak of the mountain, you want to get to that other side of the mountain, right? That's your goal, that's your focus, that's the person that you're looking at, right? Your mentor, your trading, I don't know, person that you look up to. And so without understanding that you have to go down that valley and back up the other side in order to actually get to that person, a lot of people only want to try to see that straight line that goes right across from peak to peak, from one mountain to the other, from one trader status to the other status. And that's the illusion that comes along with a lot of new traders, and I've seen it many times. And where one person just tries to jump the entire learning curve and just tries to leap over the entire thing. Can you shorten the learning curve? Yes, I think with a person that stands with you and helps you to really understand some of the things, I think you can cut the learning curve in down to a couple of years from where you would do it by yourself. And I think that having your sights set on a goal, or trying to be like somebody else, is a good thing, as long as it doesn't become your only focus. As long as you're not comparing your, say it's like a book, as long as you're not comparing your beginning of your book to somebody else's, maybe chapter 15 or 20 in their book, and they've passed all through the other chapters that you have to go through in order to get there. As long as you're not comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 15, okay? So how do you learn to trade, you're asking? So is there a learning curve, or why is there a learning curve? And most people think that, hey, do you have to actually learn trading? Is this actually a job? Is this actually a career? Some people take it a little bit too, I don't know, too non-serious, I guess. I mean, some people are just feeling like, hey, I can just get up and jump on my computer at 9:30, and there's gonna be a trade out there somewhere, something that's moving already. I'll see it on Twitter, or I'll see it pass across my news feed or my scanner, and I'll just take it, and it'll go up or down, or however whichever direction you're playing it to, and then it'll just make me money. And so a lot of traders have that misconception of trading itself being just an act of entering a trade and exiting a trade without any sort of a mental tie to it. And so what really sometimes distracts me is when I see people say, if somebody looks at a chart, right, and they go, well, I just think it's gonna go up. And so when it does go up, they say, hey, well, I told you it was going to go up. And then, so what you can do, is, hey, did you trade the chart? And the person's probably going to say no. And then you'd understand that just because a person says, hey, this chart's going to go from here to here, in between this transition from here to here, it's filled with different emotions all the way through here. Now, saying that this chart goes to 120 and trading this chart to 120 is two completely different things. And it may sound kind of simpler than, hey, there's all these emotions running through here, but saying that this chart goes to 120, and at the end of 120 saying, hey, I told you so, or actually trading it to 120 is a completely different thing. Because in between this chart, if you actually have real money into it, you may have sold here into the pullback. You may have sold here into this pullback. You may have felt like this was a double top situation over here and sold there at the top. And so, being that a person that sits on the side and says, hey, well, this goes here up to the top here and doesn't have anything invested into it, there isn't any emotional connection. That's why I always tell traders also, I feel like paper trading is very misleading. If you were paper trading this, you wouldn't worry about this dip. But if you had actual money in here from 116.50 to 114.50, that's actually a 2-point pull. And the fact is that your emotions would take control, and the fact that you would see your P&L go from green to possibly red would obviously put so much different emotions running through you that you would probably end up selling for a loss or a small gain, only to see the chart actually do what you want it to do. But a person that was not actually trading the chart would only see from point A to point B. So this is your peak of your mountain here from point A, and this is your other peak of your mountain here to point B. The road that goes in between here is what the actual trader goes through. The road from here to here is what somebody that can say, hey, it's gonna go here. This is what the person that doesn't trade it sees. This is what the person that actually trades it sees. So, and as I was comparing it to two peaks on a mountain before, if you're looking at it from one peak to the other peak and you look at it in the straight line, it sounds and looks pretty simple. But if you get down to actually making your way from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain, that's where the difficulty comes in. That's where you come in as a trader. That's where all of the hard work and mental training comes in as you progress to become a better trader. So again, the act of physically hitting the buy button or the sell button or watching your profit and loss box goes to the red or go to the green, that's where your emotions come in. And so I have a little thing written about emotions. And so let's talk about when emotions come into play, when the feeling of excitement fills you as you're green, as your trade's working for you, or the feeling of fear inside you fills you when your chart turns red. So your question comes to mind when you're actually in a trade. Now you can't watch from a chart from the bottom to the top and say I should have done this or I should have done that, because in between of that transition from the top to the bottom, there's a lot of there's a lot of emotions that come through in between there. And so the emotion is what separates you really from just being a chart caller to being an actual trader. So anybody can be a caller, okay? Anybody can say this goes here or that does that. But until you actually physically put your money into it, you don't understand anything about the chart. You don't understand how it worked. You don't understand where it pulled. You don't understand where it popped. You don't understand where you saw your level 2. Looks like it was going to shred. You don't understand any of the emotional connection that goes along with it. And so that's why I try to dismiss paper trading, even though it can help simulate your order forms and stuff like that. I dismiss trying to mimic actual trading. I think you can use simulators for stuff like filling out forms and getting your order boxes up and getting accustomed used to the chart, that sort of stuff, getting used to the platform. I can definitely feel that you can use simulated charts to do that, but I don't think that you should use simulated charts to actually mimic what you want to do as a trader, because there isn't that emotional connection to it. You can trade 10 shares, real money, and have all the emotional attachments to it, rather than trading 1,000 shares of paper trading account, because when your paper trading account is down $10,000, you don't care. You just hit that reset button and the next day you're all good. But try doing that with real money and you'll see the real emotion. You'll feel the real emotion. Trading has a lot to do with feeling. It has to come from inside of you. It has to really, you have to kind of become one with the chart, and once you become one with the chart, you really can feel the way that it moves, and it'll allow you to, hey, look, if I feel that it's strong, if I feel like if it's going the way that I need it to go, I can see a little pullback on it. I can keep myself in the chart long enough to see it work. And if you can feel the chart, the movement of it, the strength of it, you can watch the candles coming in. You can keep your eye on the L2. There's a lot of ways to strengthen that conviction that you may have either long or short on a chart. There's a lot of ways to strengthen that conviction with your chart, and then you can feel from the inside how the chart actually is working, how the chart is actually forming up. And so when your chart turns red and you're actually in it, right, there's a lot of things that goes through your mind. If you're paper trading, it doesn't matter, right, because there's nothing that's going through your mind. You're just thinking, holy crap, tomorrow I'm going to have to reset this thing. But when you're actually trading, you're thinking a lot of stuff. You're thinking, how much money can I lose? How much loss can I handle? Hey, when does it turn around? When does this thing actually stop going down? Should I buy more of the shares of this thing? Should I just cut it and take the loss? Should you just shut down your computer and come back later, hoping that the chart actually recovers? Should you have set those stops? Did you set those stops too far? Did you set those stops too close? There's a lot of things that goes through your mind when you're actually trading a chart. Now, if you weren't actually physically trading the chart, then you wouldn't have all those emotional connections because there's no relationship there. You cannot feel the momentum of the chart. You cannot feel that loss. You cannot feel that pain. You cannot feel the excitement when it's going up. Even though it may be a P&L on a simulated account that keeps going up, right? It's sometimes so fake because you can buy a ton of shares, right? Can you buy 1,000 shares of NVDA in your actual account? Can you buy it in a simulated account? Of course. So when you buy 1,000 shares of NVDA on your simulated account and it's going up points, you're up thousands of dollars, and it's emotionally just adrenaline pumping. Yes, I can do this. I can make that money. But what happened when you were down 5,000 before? What happened when you were down 2,500 before? You didn't care because you had no emotional connection to it, right? So you allowed the chart to stay in play because there was no actual loss. But if you had actual money in there, you wouldn't have never let it go down that much in order to come back up. So that real feel connection has to be there with your charts and with your trading, and it'll allow you to really attach yourself to the reality of trading. So when your chart's going down, right, you go through all these different emotions of why am I in it, why am I doing this, how do you tell your spouse that you just lost $2,500 trying to be long on a chart that you had conviction on? And then you can go tell your husband or wife that hey, the chart did go up, and so they'll go, hey, did you make money on it? And you'll say, well, of course not, because I got stopped out. And so why did you get stopped out? Didn't you know that it was going to go higher? Yes, but the person that isn't actually physically trading the chart, and it could be your wife or your husband, the person that isn't actually physically trading the chart, or sitting there looking at the candles go up and down, or sitting there looking at your P&L go green or red, that person doesn't have that emotional connection to that chart, and you have that emotional personal connection with that chart. So I hope I'm trying to relay how much your emotions actually play into it, but I'm also trying to relate to you a little bit about how much you need to be connected to your individual chart as it's working, as it's trading. That's why I always tell people, if you have a good chart, if you're in a good trade, there's no need for you to be distracted watching something else. Play the chart that you have in front of you and focus on the chart that's making you money. Put stops on the charts that aren't making you money, and if they stop out, you walk away from there. And if you are focused on the charts that are making you money, and you can add into those charts at intervals where you need to add into those charts, there's a chance that you can come out of the day with a small loss on the back end and a bigger gain on the upside with the chart that's actually working for you. So that's the fear of your chart going down, right? When you decide, hey, where do I sell it? Where do I get out? Now, what about when your chart recovers, when it's green, when your account is rocking, and your excitement is filling you up, and all of your fears are gone. You know how quickly it is to go from being excited and being green on your chart to being red, from being red, sorry. It's really like that thin line between love and hate, is it, right? It's like it's a very thin line. It can go from you just being totally feeling like crap to you totally feeling amazing about this trade, and yes, I knew this was gonna happen, and all the excitement. And then there comes the other emotion, the exact opposite of your fear, your greed. And so you can walk into your greed as easily as you can walk into your fear. And that's another emotion that can totally trap you for all the wrong reasons. You can stay into a chart, the same chart that you were red on, you can turn green on that exact same chart, and that emotion can flip like a switch, where you can go from totally feeling down to excited, and now suddenly you don't worry about how much money you were down. All you're worrying about now is how much money can I make. And now it becomes a thing of, let's make more, let's make more, let's make more. It's got to go higher. I need this to go higher. So now you're not even thinking about the couple thousand that you were down. You're thinking about the couple thousand that you're up. But instead of being satisfied with a trade, you decide to be greedy, and you decide to hold it. And then suddenly something happens, and again, you go from green to red, from excitement to fear, panic, sell, loss, and the whole thing just kind of, just kind of, it cycles. It's always gonna be a cycle. There's always a chart that goes up and a chart that goes down, and same things with your emotions. It's a cycle, and it'll go up and down until you can learn to really try to control it. And so there's a big part of becoming a trader is really trying to control those emotions. And I can go on for hours and hours until my voice gets sore, and I can totally just keep talking about different types of emotions, because that's just fear and greed, and I can go into that for hours and hours. But those two emotions alone, I think, are the basic black and white situation, the highs and lows, the extreme good, the extreme bad. I think those two emotions can really, if you can really try to control those two emotions as you become a better trader, it will help you to really become a better trader. And it's not just like saying, hey, well, I can just cut that off, because you really can't. If as a new trader you say to yourself, hey, I'm not greedy, I'm not scared of losing money, and you think that's the way to control the emotions, or just that thought of feeling like, yeah, I can do it. I can cut off that fear anytime. I can take that loss. I can make that money, and I won't be greedy with taking that money when it comes to me, or when it presents itself to me. If you can feel like you can just control that as a newer trader, then you guys all know. Some of you are probably newer traders, and some of you guys are probably a little more experienced traders, but you know that emotion is so much more than just saying I can control it, or just thinking that I can control it. Because until you really get into a chart, you understand that thinking that you had or the thought that you had in your mind about how much control you actually have on the situation, you understand that you have zero control on the situation, and all your emotions just start running all over the place, and it's like fireworks going off inside of your brain, and you don't understand what to do. And then you forget to put stops, you buy too much size, you forget so many things at the same time. Live trading is completely different from any other type of looking at charts. I can show you hindsight charts. I can show you charts that maybe, yeah, this was a long, or, this was a bull flag. Well, I mean, look at NVDA there. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? Look at it here. That's pretty simple. Like, yeah, should you have been long? Of course you should have been long. Here, look, there's a perfect double bottom there, and there's an obvious trend break to the upside here. Of course you should have been long, right? But you weren't. I wasn't, right? Because I can teach you hindsight charts and trades all day long, and there's nothing that can even hold a candle to actual real life day trading. And there isn't anything that can help your emotions to get in check like actually trading. So now the question really comes down to, so are you ready to be a trader, right? Do you have what it takes to be a trader? Are you going to put in the amount of hours that you need to put in to be a proper trader? Is this something that you're gonna take seriously as a job, as a career, as a training exercise, as something that almost doesn't stop? I don't think that I am not on my at my desk or looking at my mobile for for more than, I don't know, an hour, unless there's something really going on with my personal life. I think I'm always looking at something. It could be during market hours or on the weekends. I mean, like, I have mobile apps, and I'll be looking at a chart. I'll be reading an article. I'll be checking futures. And so, there isn't a time of the day that I'm not sitting at my desk or doing something that is some way or in one way or form attached to trading or what I do. And even if it's not directly involved in trading, even if it's not about charts, even if it's not about articles, I mean, I'm writing stuff. Like, I'm constantly writing stuff. I have tons of things that are just written all over the place. And then I get into writing pieces of that, that book that I want to eventually put out. And so I just do stuff that always has to do with trading in some way or form or fashion. It's part of my life now. It's not just a job. It's an obsession. And when you think that you want to become a trader, it's not a 9 to 5. If you think that it's just going to be a job where you start off at 9:30 and you end at 4, and that's just the way that it's going to be. Now, you can do that if you're following somebody else. You can do that if you're just piggybacking off somebody else. You don't need to do the hard work. You don't need to put in the hours. You don't care to do it on your own. You will never do it on your own because you won't learn anything. If that's the type of trader that you want to be, like an alert trader, it's just hey, tell me when to buy and tell me when to sell. If that's the trader that you want to be, I'm sure that there is somewhere that you can get that sort of a service, and that'll be a service, period. But if you actually want to become a trader, if you want to say, I want to see a chart, I want to be able to format a trade on my own. I want to sit back and I want to do this by myself, without anybody telling me what to do. I want to be able to see it. I want to be able to trade it. I want to understand why it goes places, what it's doing, how much it needs to pull back first. Why do you think it moves up into the open? Why do you think it comes down into the open? If you want to understand all of these things, if you want to really become a trader, then you gotta learn. You gotta put the time in. You gotta dedicate yourself. You gotta have patience with the charts. A lot of times, um, most times, and who doesn't want it to be? But you take a chart and you want it to move, right? You didn't buy it to lose money, did you? Did you intentionally buy a chart to lose money? The answer will always be no. Of course not. Did you think that the chart was going up when you went long? Of course you thought it was going up when you went long because you went long, right? If you thought it was going down, you wouldn't go long, right? So did you put money in to lose? No, I put money in to win. So how is it that the end effect always ends up being where you put money in and you lose? So where's the disconnect there? The fact is that there's somewhere in between of you putting that actual order in your mind you're thinking this chart goes higher, but the chart does not go higher. It doesn't do what you want it to do. So there's a point where you're thinking something, but the charts are doing something else. So there's a disconnect there, right? There's something that's not being understood between you and that chart. You cannot control the chart. You can never control the chart. Ever. Don't ever think you have any control over any of this. You don't. Unless you can buy the entire float, or you can put 2 million shares in here and actually move it up. It's not going to move your way. Your ideas of thinking, hey, I want this to do this, that isn't really gonna ever become a reality. The fact is that, can you see a chart and have a proven strategy, at least some sort of a consistent strategy, formation, or whatever have you, that can give you a result that should provide a positive outcome? Now, are all your charts going to work? Are all your perfect 5-star setups going to work? Of course not. I've had 5-star setups fail on me, and for me, my 5-star setup is when every duck lines up. I got a formation, I got a higher low, it's over the indicator that I need it to be over, it's got the volume, it's got the stochastics, the MACD, every single thing that's lined up, lines up, and it fails. And I've had charts like that. I've had charts where I'm like, I can close my eyes and this thing is gonna work right now, and it fails. And that's the reality of trading. It's the fact that you can see every single thing you want. You can fib this thing, you can chart it out to perfection, and you could almost feel like there is no way it can lose, and then it fails on you. It breaks out the high with twice as much volume as it was trading during the day, and you're like, well, how can it go wrong here? And it fails on you, right? So that's the physical act of the chart. How does the emotional part of it come into play? How do you react to the chart when it does fail on you? How do you react to the chart when it does not work for you, go in your way? That connection right there between what the chart does and what goes through you as the individual trader is where that gap needs to be filled a bit. And so, in essence, basically, a lot of people would say that, charts, you got to play the charts, and I totally believe you got to play the charts. There's nothing about it that you should not be playing the charts. But you have to understand that it is like, the more I do this, is the more I understand it is all mental. It's become so mental for me. It's like, I feel like I've gone through even stages in my own trading career where I've gone from being a technical trader, which I am. I'm a 100% technical trader. Fundamentals come and go, and for me, I really, I don't care to read stuff. I really just like to rely on the charts. And if the price is going up, I don't care if they say it's a fail. If the price is going up, the price is going up, right? And so you take it on the long side because the price action will always lead you into the right direction. And so for me, I am 100% a technical trader. But in recent times, and as I always say, I don't think that your changes as a trader comes at a like a 180 turn. You don't just get up one day and say, well, and suddenly I'm changing my direction. It'll happen over time. But over time, for me personally, I've seen that I've become so much stronger as a mental trader, where I'm allowing things to do things that maybe people won't even understand or are willing to try to understand because it just sounds a little out of the world, out of this world. And I'm a little contrarian sometimes where I don't necessarily have to agree with the general mass. I can sometimes do things that I want to do. Because why? Because I'm a personal trader, right? I don't follow everybody else's footsteps and have that depict my trading. So I don't watch CNBC and then saying oil's going to 60 and then it's at 45, or it going to 30 now suddenly, and now it starts to turn back to the upside. And so I don't really try to rely too much on other people's interpretations of things. I just kind of try to rely on my own self. And if I'm wrong with my own money. And I understand that I'm wrong, and I control the emotion that got me into it. And so if that emotion is led to being a biased emotion, right, to the long side, okay? Say for instance, I'm super biased on NVDA to the long side, and so the chart continues to move up, and I'm super biased to the long side. What if the chart pulls? What if it breaks the 50 EMA? Right? Well, there has to be a reason there to say, well, hey, look, if the chart breaks a certain point, you have to understand that that biasness got to stop. And there's a lot of people that cannot control that biasness, and that's that emotional connection, right? There are a lot of people say that, hey, look, the chart's doing good. I know it's gonna go up, but they're so biased on the fact that it has to go up that no matter how much it comes down, they'll still be in it. Even if they go from green to red, they'll still be in it because they're so biased that they've pretty much compelled their entire self to believe that it has to go a certain way. And so for me, I have become really adjusted more and more and more. I feel like every day it's become more and more like that. But I've become more and more adjusted to allowing the charts to kind of rule the way that I I need to be, controlled also. Like I need to understand that if the charts are working, let them work, right? If the charts are not working, then we need to get out of them. We need to cut that loss. We need to be able to manage that risk. And so in kind of trying to keep with the are you ready to be a trader type of topic here. You gotta be able to do a lot of things as a trader. You have to be able to be patient. You have to be able to understand that this is hard work. You have to be able to break your fears, understand position sizing, manage your risk. You have to protect your capital. You have to be able to say, well, this loss is more than I need to take because this is more than my account needs to be underwater. I don't need my $10,000 account to have a $4,000 loss. That isn't risk management. That isn't taking your account and putting your account first. That's putting your account last. That's putting your bias first. That's putting your emotions first. That's putting you saying, well, I'm long this chart for no matter what. And even if my $10,000 account is down $4,000, I need to be right. That's not putting your account first. That's not managing your risk. That's putting you first. Your personal emotion, your personal bias, your personal judgment. So that really is something that would need to be controlled, right? So if you can't control that, then you're not ready to be a trader, right? If you can't understand that your first priority is to protect your money, then you're not ready to be a trader. And the thing is that, look, I say it over and over and over. I'm really not that guy to really sugarcoat trading for you. I'm not gonna tell you, hey, it's all, glitz and glamour, 'cause it isn't. It's the hardest physical work that you'll ever do. It's the hardest mental job that you'll ever have. It's the most amount of time that you'll ever put into a career. More than I think, I mean, like, at this point, I could have probably been a doctor or lawyer or both. Um, I feel like there isn't really a job that takes as much out of you, and you take it home with you. You take it all over the place with you. You're sitting somewhere and you're looking at a chart. You're reading an article. You're doing something. If you're swinging something and it's red, you're thinking about it, right? And you're focused on it, and then it takes control out of everything that you do. Your lifestyle, your family life. If you have a bad trading day, aren't you upset afterwards? You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to even eat dinner. So it affects everything else, right? If you have a great day, you're excited, you're happy. Hey, let's just go out for dinner tonight. I made a lot of money. And so isn't that a connection to your actual physical life? Right? When you're excited, when you're happy, when you've made money, it's a good feeling. The after hours, the night off. If it's the weekend trade, you're excited going into the weekend. How many times do you say, "Hey, I don't want to have a loss on a Friday, because I don't want to ruin my weekend," right? And so a lot of people would say, "Well, I need to have a green Friday," and it's not that you need to in your account. You more kind of need it for your mental sanity over the weekend. You don't want to keep going into the weekend thinking, well, shit, I just lost $1,000. And then Monday morning comes, right? And you're not thinking about getting the week started. You're not thinking about, hey, this is a fresh week. You're thinking about, how can I make back that $1,000 that I lost on Friday? And so you start off the week on the wrong foot. And now you're not thinking to start off fresh. You're thinking about, how can I recoup that loss? And so, as a trader, when you say that you're really, really ready to become a trader, there has to be changes that has to be made. You have to understand that, yes, I will be wrong. I will understand that I will be wrong. If I've been doing this for years and it's not working, there has to be an alternate way to do this, or I'm going to end up failing. Period. I don't like to sugarcoat stuff for people, because I feel like that's just so much of a sucker punch to traders. I've worked my butt off for money. I've made it, I've lost it, and I'm at a point now where I'm consistent enough to do everything that I need to do, and I feel like I like to make sure that if there's somebody that's serious about doing what they want to do for a career, if you're serious enough and you can show me that you're serious enough, I'm serious enough to work with you and to try to help you to get to that point, because I don't really think that it's this may sound a little crazy, but I don't think that it's that hard. I just think that there is a huge gap that needs to be filled, and until it cannot get filled, you cannot have a stepping stone to walk over. So it's like a river. I think I've made this comparison before. It's like a river, and you have stepping stones, big rocks that you want to jump on in order to cross the river, so you don't fall into the river, right? But if you step on a rock that's shaky, or sitting on another rock, or has, moss growing on it or something, you can slip off of there, right? And so each step, each foundation that you build as a trader, each thing that you learn, your candlesticks or your formations, those are individual stepping stones. But then the other stones, they have to be in place, otherwise the entire thing doesn't come into play. The emotional part of it, the connection, the reality that grasp that it has to get inside of you. You have to be able to feel it. And I know that you may be thinking, hey, this guy's just rambling up about, feeling his trades. What the hell is he talking about? I gotta tell you, I really do feel these trades. Like I really do become part of it. Like I can look at it, at the candles as they work. I love to look at intraday candles, even if I'm not trading a chart. Even though if I'm not in that trade, I like to see how the candles work. Intraday, there's nothing like seeing a candle go up and down and watching it as the L2 works. There's nothing like just watching those things to have a relationship built with how you can understand why they're working. When does it start getting rejected? How do you see a top wick? What formed that wick at the top? What happened on the L2? Where did that chart start showing rejection? What's the reason why? Where's that fib at? There's so many things that you can learn at from a single thing like a candle forming a top and tail. And the only how you can really kind of get into this is seeing these things happen live, because I can show you, well, here, look, there's obviously a top and tail on that one, and there's a hanging man right there, so you'd short it, obviously, right? But that's good hindsight right there. There isn't anything to be learned other than that is a hanging man candle, and that's also a bearish harami. And sure, this is a bullish harami with a strong elephant bar breaking the trend to the upside, so you take it on the long. Here's a flag, bearish engulfing. You know, I mean, like, there's so many things that I can show you hindsight. But when you're trading this chart live, when you're doing the chart the way that it's supposed to be done, you would understand that there's different emotions. Let me show you that this emotional trade today on AAOI and how I came out of this trade on AAOI. So I ended up having a decent size on this chart. I think it was $53 and $63.04 or something. I ended up having 1,200 shares of AOI as I bought into the dip here, and I played the long, and then I added on the chart as it was going up. So I think I had $63.05 if I remember correctly, 1,200 shares. And so I played it, and I'm good. I'm good. Chart dipped here. I got a little freaked out, but I stayed in because I still had the upside momentum. I still had the 50 EMA underneath me. When it dipped the second time, I got out. Right here. Right into these couple of candles. And so, you know, the chart hit my target. My target was 65, by the way. The high of the day was 65 to the penny. But and my target was 65 even when I got in, because it's an actual fib projection. But I got out of this chart here. And so the thing is that it's I'm long. I know what I'm doing. I'd like to think that that I'm confident with what I'm doing. But yeah, this was an emotional fake out. I stayed in here, right? The actual proper placement for the stop would have had to be right at the bottom of this last pivot, which would have put me obviously down here. I would have still remained in the trade long enough to actually get my target at the top. And so the problem is this entire little thing here shook me out, and it was emotional. So now you're saying, well, how can you be emotional when you're trying to say, well, don't be? Well, because we all do, right? I didn't go home right on the trade. I still ended up taking home money on the trade. I think, I can't remember how much it was. No, I do. It was $644 I ended up taking home on AAOI. And now that's still a decent amount of money, but considering the fact that it was basically over a $2,000 trade, and knowing that I wanted the target, but I still basically shook myself out. At the same time right here, it was also when the market was kind of giving a little pull to the downside. So I had two things going for me. I'm watching the market, and I'm feeling like, hey, the market looks like it's gonna pull. And so what I do is I actually put my stop in tighter, and I got stopped out unnecessarily, emotionally, only to see the chart actually continue up to the upside. So I protected my gain, but I emotionally stopped myself out. So that's a twofold right there. I ended up making money on the chart, but still very disappointed in myself for how I ended up playing it out, knowing fully well that my stop should have been under the last pivot point. I think that I unfairly got myself out of that trade. But again, the simplicity of it is, are you ready to become a trader? Are you ready to do it? Are you ready to put the hard work in? Are you ready to understand that your small account is going to be a small growth? If you have a small account and you're trying to make $1,000 a day, you're asking for too much. If you have a $10,000 account and you're trying to make $1,000 a day, you're asking for trouble, right? If you have a $10,000 account, you need to understand that you need to that you need to be in relation with your small account. A small account means that you have to compound your gains. You cannot go from a $10,000 account to a $15,000 account in a couple weeks or in a couple months. I think with a $10,000 account, you should be reasonable with it. Do not stress your account. The more you stress your account, physically, you're stressing yourself mentally. Okay, if you try to force your $10,000 account to make you $1,000 a day, you're gonna get yourself in trouble. Because in order to make that kind of money, you need to have BP, right? And so you get leverage. Leverage is great. Everybody thinks leverage is the best. I want more than 4 to 1. I want 10 to 1. Give me 20 to 1. I want leverage so I can make more money. You know what leverage does to you? Leverage just puts you into bigger losses. Because if you still don't understand what you need to understand at the beginning, you can turn what is a small loss on a no leverage account. You can turn a $200 loss on a no leverage account to a $2,000 loss on a leveraged account. Because you know what the thing is, when a trader gets a small account and they have leverage, a $10,000 account with a 5 to 1 buying power, I got $50,000, they end up taking a trade for $48,900. Why? Because they have the leverage. And so they use it to the max. And I know that if there's a younger trader, if there's a newer trader, if there's a person playing with a smaller account with that leverage, I know I'm speaking to you when I say, why are you maxing out your leverage on each trade? And you have to be able to respect your account. Not how much money you want to make, but how much money your account should make. If your $10,000 account makes $500, that's a fantastic day. And you should respect that. If your $10,000 makes over $150, that is a great day. And you should respect that. And so, everything obviously has a relationship. And you need, as a trader, if you really seriously want to become a trader, you need to understand how these relationships work. And it's going to be baby steps, and it's going to be a lot of breaking down of bad habits. If you're not willing to be broken down before you built up, then there's a problem there already. If you're saying, hey, I know enough already, and you just started 6 months, I've read all the books, I've watched all the webinars, I've did all the videos, I did 6,000 hours of simulated trading, and I've been trading for 6 months. I haven't really physically put any money on a real trade yet. Well, you just started, my friend. And no matter how much books you've read, no matter how many people you've studied with, how many courses you've taken, if you haven't put that real money into the trading account and actually physically taken a trade, your journey has just started. And so, at the end of the day, I'm going to kind of wrap it up with, are you really ready to become a trader? And that's a question that you need to ask yourself, okay? Before you go ahead and say, yes, I do want to become a trader, before you put money into your account, you know what? I'm not the person to say to you that you're gonna fail at trading, but there's a realistic statistic out there, and it's about 95% of day traders fail, and that's not made up numbers. That's real as it can be, and it's probably even higher than 95%, and that's a reality of it. So if you understand that 9 out of 10 people in a room are going to fail, you should be trying harder than the other guy to not be one of those 9 out of 10. But if you try harder than number 7, you're still gonna fail. If you try harder than number 8, you're still gonna fail. You gotta try harder than number 9 so you could be that one guy that survives. So, how much do you have to work in order to become a successful trader? How much effort are you willing to put in? If I'm going to put in 10%, number 2 is going to put in 20, number 3 is going to put in 30, you need to be putting in 100%. If you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to give it all that you've got and some, if you're not willing to sacrifice, your social time, if you're not willing to sacrifice some of your weekends, if you're not willing to one of the things that I think I lost the most of, I think I lost a lot of social friends. And I have great friends still, and I call them up any day, and you can talk to them like you've never, missed a step, and those are real friends, right? But I think I've lost a lot of, just acquaintances over the time because I just don't have time for all of that stuff anymore. But that's a sacrifice that you have to understand that will happen, and this will take away a lot of your time. This will totally, it will totally soak up every extra minute that you have, and if that's what you're really seriously wanting to do. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to be great, and it won't be great. I'm not telling you that you're all going to succeed, because you won't all succeed. And can I tell you that you'll all be great? Sure, I can tell you that. Right? I can get you all hyped up about it. But if you really seriously want to become a trader, you got to learn the right way. It's got to be done a proper way. And, you know, I think that I'm going to wrap it up with, seriously, before you really decide that this is what you want to do, you got to ask yourself a lot of questions. Are you really seriously ready to become a trader? So I did write some stuff down, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy it and paste it for you here. And just in case you want to read it over, or if there's something maybe that I forgot to write, to read over, I do kind of go ahead and talk. And if there's any grammatical errors in there, my apologies. I was just jotting down stuff. But on the announcement section there, you'll see basically the kind of the little notes that I was writing down there. And you can read that, and maybe there's something in there that can help you out as you read further on. And as some of the questions were coming up there, Lewis, yeah, I do hide my P&L, and that helps a lot with my emotion. No problem. It's being recorded. No problem. Yeah, so I do hide my personal P&L. I don't actually like seeing my P&L during the day, and it's only when I'm actually pretty close to the end result, to where I want to be, or or something like that. Or if it charts just ramping up for no reason or whatever, yeah, then I'll jump in and I'll make sure that my P&L looks good. Sometimes I have to even check, because I do have a lot of outstanding orders. Sometimes when I want something back at a fib or something, I'll put an order in. Sometimes it'll get filled, and then I'll have to say, oh man, I gotta check and make sure I didn't get filled on that. And so I do hide my P&L, and that does help a lot with emotional. And how do you control yourself from over trading, Tom? How do you control yourself from over trading? Well, we will have to first get yourself into a winning trade. See, a better winning trade. Why do you overtrade? Okay, let's break that question. How do you stop yourself from overtrading? Or how do you know that you're overtrading? How are you controlling yourself from overtrading? All of that overtrading stuff, if you break it down, comes from the lack of not having a proper trade set up at the beginning. If you had a proper trade set up at the beginning, you wouldn't need to overtrade on the back end to make up for something that wasn't done properly at the front end, right? If your goal is $200 a day, but you came in and you had a good trade that made you $200 a day, the need for overtrading wouldn't have to come into play. So the fact that, how do you control yourself from overtrading? Maybe if you had a proper trade set up from the beginning, you wouldn't need to overtrade at the back end. So it's almost kind of like a, well, set yourself up properly at the beginning so that you don't hurt yourself at the end, where you don't feel like you need to force trade, right? And even today, I was talking to my group, and I was explaining to them why I'm not taking a trade. Do I see setups here? Yeah, I see setups all the time. Scanners are going off. I got, I got 8 screens. I got things that are moving. I can take a trade setup pretty much every 2 or 3 minutes during the day. And at the end of the day, I probably have 50 or 60 tickets, and well, that's not me. And so today, I think I only traded about 4 or 5 things. I traded ACIA into the open. I had ARRY. I bought SWN at $5.25, and I'm holding that. I feel like crude oil has started to make a curl to the upside, and I want to be a part of that. So I took some SWN long. I did AAOI. I did TEAR, a little pig chart. I saw it on the scanner. It looked like it wanted to go higher. I like it on the daily chart. I liked it on the intraday chart. I ended up taking it, and I did Boeing on the short side. And so I tell you, what with you're probably thinking, well, all my trades got to be working out so great, right? And they don't. Not all my trades work out great. I had CLNT overnight, over the weekend. Overnight. Sorry, over the weekend, over the night. I came in, and chart's down. I took it long, looking for another upside target on CLNT. I got myself into a gap down situation, so I ended up taking a loss on CLNT. But ACIA into the open, I made $480 on ACIA. ARRY, I think I made about $12.75 or something on ARRY. SWN, I'm still holding it, so I don't have a problem with that. AAOI, I made, I think, 644 on AAOI. On tier, I ended up coming out of here with, gosh, can't remember. Is it 500 or 550 or something like that. Um, oh, and here's my Boeing short, and so I took Boeing on the short side, and the chart actually worked pretty good. And yeah, and the chart ended up coming back up on me. And so yes, on this $183 chart with 400 shares of Boeing, I made $42. And so that's something that I use as an example why I made $42 on this chart. And so you're thinking, well, that's just a total waste of time. But that's a perfect example of understanding that the chart isn't doing what you want it to do, and it doesn't really matter how much you make on it. But there's a lot of people, and I was kind of jokingly saying this today to my group also, that there are a lot of people that would laugh at that, making $42 on a chart like that. But that's what the chart gave me, and so that's why I took out of it. Because at the end of the day, my job is to extract money from the market. So I extracted money from the market, $2,549 worth of it. And so that's my job. That's it. My job isn't to be right. My job isn't to call the tops. My job isn't to call the bottoms. My job at the end of the day is to extract money from the market. That's all you need to remember as you progress, as you trade. What's my target for UWT? I'm not in UWT. I'm in SWN. But UWT, I mean, I really haven't looked at the daily chart as much, but we can see that the chart is obviously trying to curl here at the bottom, and I think that if we can get the move to the upside, at least for some sort of a recovery effort here, at least short term before it comes into some serious resistance, right, which it's trying to break out of tomorrow. So if the chart can break out of this double bottom pivot here, this is obviously the resistance area on the chart. If the chart can come over that $16.11, we can do probably a quick fib area and try to see where that at least our target should be, about $18.50 on UWT, if we were to get the chart to at least try to retrace 50% off of this move. So 1850 should be a decent area target for UWT, as long as it can come back and close over that $16. and $16 and 12 cents or 15 cents or wherever that area is right there. So that would be my target, about 1850. And yes, we'll have everything recorded, and it'll be put out tomorrow. But again, I want to just say thank you guys for spending your hour with me, and thank you for coming out and sharing some of my you know some of my thoughts, and again, I'm here. You got any questions? You got any charts? You got any setups that you want to take? Shoot them out. And as always, if you are interested in trading with us, do check out the website icemantradingacademy.com, and there you'll find as much information as you can. And we're obviously growing every single day, and we will be very happy to have you trade with us. But do check out the website. Definitely, I'm still here, so I'll just stop the recording now.